Ow.
And here we are on this evening, August 15th, 2025. I don't care what you're doing. Stop. Get your phone, get your tablet, get your computer. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, get her True Social. You better get all your friends here. We have an exclusive. We have an exclusive with the man that spent a long time working to track down some pure red heifers to meet the qualifications of Numbers chapter 19 in the Old Testament, so that the Jews in Israel, those religious Jews, can have the cleansing ceremony, the purification ceremony for a tabernacle and or temple, the third temple. You might remember, and we're going to have tonight, the man that went and tracked those cows down and got those 5 heifers to Israel. This story is going viral because today it turns out what we were told earlier in the summer was that this was one of the heifers that disqualified due to a colored hair. And they were practicing the ceremony. They were practicing. Remember this? You guys remember us showing you this? What's now come out that was not a practice after all. There was so much controversy around it, they said, oh, it's just a practice. They're even getting pushback from the Israeli government. They actually offered this burnt offering and collected 10 gallons of ashes. They now have what they need for a cleansing ceremony, the first time in 2,000 years. And whenever they want to erect a temporary tabernacle, scholars say they could do it and begin making sacrifices. Now you say, why is this important? Well, I, as a Christian, believe that Jesus Christ laid down his life as the ransom for sinners one time. He cried out, "It is finished," debt paid in full, and he died. But the Jews, they are wanting to rebuild their temple. And to have that temple, they're going to have a purification per Numbers 19. And yet we know that the Bible tells us that there's going to be a temple, because we read about it in the book of Daniel, where the Antichrist, the man of lawlessness, the son of perdition, who will come onto the world scene and use a false dominant church to establish himself and then destroy that false dominant church and set up a new religion, the worship of himself via the mark of the beast. He'll run a one world economy, a one world government, a one world religion. And then after confirming a peace treaty with the Jews, 3.5 years later, he will break that covenant, and begin to war against the Jews. We've been studying some of this in my series as I've been teaching through the book of Revelation on Sunday nights, back this Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, for lesson 46, as we're in Revelation 19. So there has to be a temple. The Bible says there's going to be a tribulation temple, which makes sense that we must be getting very close to the building of that temporary tabernacle and or temple. Now you say, well, why does this matter to you, Brandon? You're not Jewish. Why should it matter to any of us tonight that are watching that are not Jewish? And not all Jews are excited about the idea of a temple. Some are Jews that are non-religious Jews. So why do you care, Brandon, as a Gentile Christian? Why do you care about this? Because I think it tells us where we are on God's prophetic calendar. Jesus chided the religious leaders of his day when he said that you can discern the weather, but not the times. We know from our study on the book of Revelation, there's a special blessing that comes from those who study that book, who hear it taught, who read it. And it's full of signs, many that are very clearly understood and defined in the text. There's going to be a temple. There's going to be a temple during the tribulation period. So, are we approaching the end of days, the end of times? We certainly seem to be in the end days or the last days. So much has happened. Israel returning to being a nation, May 1948. Now the technology for a mark of the beast system, as we see these tech bros and companies growing and going global, and the idea of digital currency. We have the ability for a mark of the beast, the technology under one's skin. The idea of a one world religion, the world's religions coming together in a syncretism. There seems to be a convergence of end time beliefs, of end time stage setting. And one of them would be the building of the third temple. And now you have the ashes from a perfect red heifer. Well, this is the man we're going to interview tonight. He wrote this book, Hunt for the Red Heifer, a Texas businessman's journey to find and deliver a perfect red cow to Israel. Byron Stinson. By the way, we have secured him to speak at our national conference, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th, with everybody else. Why on earth would you not want to be here with us in person? October 3rd, Friday night, Saturday, October 4th. You should be. We're centrally located right outside of Memphis in beautiful Collierville, Tennessee, where we're based and headquartered. The beautiful theater belonging to our town that we've rented. We have all the hotel information, all the restaurants to eat at during the breaks. It's all there. And we'd love to have you here. And you could go right up and speak to all the speakers. We got to do a new graphic now and add in Byron's picture. Because Byron's going to be with us, along with Gordon Chang and Sidney Powell and Alex Newman and Chris Martinson and Mark Mitchell and Andy Woods and Alex Newman, Dr. Lana. It's going to be a great weekend. You're going to be encouraged to be with like-minded people. I hope you'll come and be with us in person. You can get your ticket at worldviewstore.com, all the details, times of the conference, hotel information, restaurants, all there, worldviewstore.com. The concert banquet, the keynote address by that Thursday night banquet by Hadia Miramonde. You can take that Thursday night in. It's going to be a great banquet at one of our favorite restaurants here in the Mid-South. The food is amazing. Love to have you. Now, if you can't be here in person, then you can enjoy 50% of the blessing. 100% is being here and interacting with like-minded people and Christians and visiting with the speakers. You're going to end up losing about 50% of the blessing. But if you want to get 50% versus nothing, you can live stream it, but only if you're a Vault member. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Get a year membership, and you can live stream it. Here is, I have a text. I thought I did. I thought I had a screenshot. Yeah, I do. We're going to go through this tweet right here where Byron Stinson, my guest tonight, said we used a perfect red heifer. He helped bring them. He was the one searching for them and bringing those 5 to Israel. Now, I was interviewing Dr. Andy Woods and Dr. Rob Lindstedt and Aaron out of Israel. And Aaron brought up, you should have Byron on. I'm like, well, I'd like to. He made it happen. So we're about to have him because we pre-taped it this afternoon to make sure we could get Byron on. So I didn't want to lose any of those guys. We just wanted to add in Byron. So we said, hold right there. Let's just, after we got off radio and TV at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock Central, we got off at 2 Central. Let's just mix in Byron. And we did. And we pre-taped it. And we're going to bring it to you right now. And then we're going to hear from David Tice and Tommy Waller on a group of progressives that are threatening the middle of September to have a campaign that goes nationwide to boycott every store in America, their workplaces, to just shut the system down. Well, that's not as bad as the grid going down. And we're going to find out tonight for about $4 billion. $4 billion. We could harden our grid from all kinds of physical attacks as well as EMP. And with all the money that's being brought in by tariffs, we should ask President Trump, take $4 billion, harden the grid like other countries have done from our enemies, right? 100%. And then we're going to be joined by 2 pediatricians. Going to explain to parents what to do if you're having a hard time finding a pediatrician who will take you on, take your children on as patients. Because many of them today will say, if you didn't get all the vaccines, if you're not going to get them all, we don't want you, get out. So I want to share with you a new opportunity for not only you, if you have children or grandchildren that need a pediatrician, but for pediatricians themselves to get out from underneath the thumb of big corporations and being an employee of big corporations and insurance companies. We'll talk about this new model that's gaining steam in America. But first, I need you to tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, and tell everybody to get over here because Brandon House and World YouTube are about to have on Byron Stinson, who's the man that went and tracked down the heifers in America and got them over to Israel. And now one of them has been sacrificed as, quote, a perfect red heifer, something that has not happened in over 2,000 years. This story is going viral today. Did you know that? Tim Cast was talking about it. Or is it Tim Pool? His name is Tim Pool, but it's called Tim Cast, which is kind of shocking because he's Jewish, but, you know, I wasn't expecting a guy like that to talk about this. And now it's going viral. But we have the actual man himself tonight, Byron Stinson. So tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, get a big crowd here. All right? Now, before we do, how do we do all this? How do we put all this out for free each and every day? Please go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Without your support, folks, it all quits. It all shuts down. We spend about $8,000 to $9,000 a month just in streaming bandwidth to allow people to watch it for free. That's right. The more people that watch, the more money it costs us. And a lot of people watch and they never donate. They never help. Some of you can't. Don't worry about it. Just pray for us and tell other people about us. Pray for us and get some of our business cards at worldviewstore.com and pass them out. So if you can't support us financially, don't you worry. That's why we're free. But there are a lot of you that can and you don't. Would you please consider going to worldviewtube.com/sponsors and do business with one of these companies? Because they pay us when you do business with them. Because these are great products that we, Melissa and I, have personally endorsed. We use them, like Bella Grace. Bella Grace. If you are supporting us already, can I say thank you? Thank you so much for helping us keep this network going. We got to bring in around 40 grand a month just to cover our costs. That's not including my salary. And I have to make a living. I have bills. I have health insurance and car insurance and everything like you guys do. That 40 grand a month is just my hard cost of running the network with all the expenses and the bandwidth and the IT and the utilities to keep the servers cool and running and not overheating. Pay the guys in the control room. The costs go on and on and on. All the licensing fees for using all the graphics and software and programming that we have to use to keep these shows scheduled and on time. Very elaborate software that we have to pay for. One of many pieces of software we have to license every year to the tune of thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. So we need your support. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You know I take Bella Grace each and every day. 80 clinical trials behind it. You know I take the Gatatana, that's the phytoplankton. I give Dolly half a scoop of her on her food. There's a pet version. She gets it. You know I swish with the Numi each and every day, loaded with glutathione, which is a naturally occurring molecule in your body that starts to decrease around age 20. And you need this to detox your cells. In fact, some studies show it may remove mercury from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Find all of them there at worldviewtube.com/stores. Do business with them, or just go to our foundation and make a contribution, would you? worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. All right? Well, let's go now to the interview today that I pre-recorded so we could have Byron with us, along with Dr. Woods, Rob Lindstedt, and Aaron. This is going to be very exciting. If you want to share it with someone later, we'll be sure to put it up online by tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, at worldviewtube.com, so you can share it with someone else tomorrow at worldviewtube.com. Watch this. All right, guys, joining me now is Byron Stinson. This is a great exclusive interview. Aaron Lavarco, our reporter on the ground, helped make this happen today. Of course, along with our friend Dr. Rob Lindstedt. Dr. Andy Woods joins us. If you did not see today's radio show / TV show at 1 o'clock Central on our 74 Christian stations nationwide and here at Worldview Tube, we're going to play it as we in this broadcast tonight. But we do need to do a little review. So if you did see today's broadcast, hang with us. We got to bring everybody else up to speed as to what we're talking about. And then we'll have a lot of new information as we're interviewing exclusively Byron Stinson. He's the man from Texas who spends a lot of his life in Israel. And he believes, I think he believes, we'll ask him, that God has placed him on this earth to help breed these red heifers. 5 of them were taken to Israel that he raised and bred. And they were taken there as pets. We'll show the video footage of them arriving at the airport in their crates. They had to be brought in as pets so they could get them in. We were told around July 1st, and we reported on that back in July 1st, that the red heifers were, one of them was disqualified and that it had been sacrificed as a practice. And we showed the video footage of it being burned. You guys remember that? We'll find it and show it again. And well, it turns out now it's breaking everywhere today, August 15th, 2025, that it was not a heifer that was blemished. It was a pure red heifer, and it was burned and sacrificed by all the protocols necessary that are described in Numbers 19. And it was done secretly because of the outrage of the Islamists and so many. So, folks, this is a big deal. We'll explain why it's a big deal. Gentlemen, let's welcome them all. Dr. Rob Lindstedt of BibleTipNow.org, Andy Woods of AndyWoodsMinistries.org, our reporter on the ground, Aaron Lavarco of LightToTheNationsMinistry.com, and Byron. We'll get Byron's website as well. Byron, thank you for joining us by phone tonight.
Yeah, hello, guys. God bless you. I'll just let you know I'm driving between Tennessee and Texas. I'm right on the Alabama-Mississippi line, so I hope we have a good connection.
Well, we should just have you turn around and come back to our studios here in Memphis. But
no,
it's like we want to get home. But you
My
guys.
My wife says no.
Yeah, she wants to go home. She wants to go home. Where is home, Byron?
Well, that's actually all over. We spend close to half our time in Jerusalem, but we also have houses in Texas and Tennessee, so we move around quite a bit.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
All right, let's play today what has ignited a lot of this. This is a video put out by Tim Cast, and he's interviewing a Jewish gentleman, and this is what's going absolutely viral today, which is very interesting to me because a lot of people, I don't think Tim Cast is not a Christian show per se, right, Logan? He's Jewish. But there's a lot of conservatives, MAGA people that listen to him, right? So this is introducing a lot of people to Bible prophecy, to the red heifers that have never heard this, don't know what it's about. So I think God is using this young man as well. Listen to what's going viral today, and then we're going to hear from Byron himself. Here we go.
I'm going to jump to the last story here. Adam, you came in and you have a story to break about the red heifer.
Right.
Could you go ahead and elaborate on that, please?
Right. So this was a big thing over at InfoWars and on the dissident right media for the longest time, the Jew hate media. Yeah. Do you have my tweet that I actually put on my... So I basically, what happened, if you want to go to the first slide first before we play the video, about a month ago on July 1st, there was an announcement that they were going to do a practice run of the red heifer. And prior to this, the media outrage that the Jews were going to go do this red heifer, you had these lunatics like Stu Peters and others who were saying, this is going to usher in the Antichrist, blah, blah, blah. And it was like a real big media balagan. It was really a bad twist. So they said that and also the government wasn't going to let them. So what they did was they said, we're just going to do a practice one with one of the 5 disqualified cows. The government said, okay, whatever. They ended up going out, doing a real cow. One of the cow's name was Tikva. They made the offering, And I actually, it was a real offering. They did it all by the laws. And I have with me some of the ashes right here, red heifer ashes. It's pretty incredible. The red heifer, the last time that the red heifer was done was over 2,000 years ago. The first time it was done by Moses. The second time it was done by Ezra from the book in the Bible. And that shows you how long the ashes can last for. So a pure red heifer doesn't come about all the time. And in this generation, we had 21 of them that were born. Pure. They picked 7 to bring to Israel. And out of the 7, Israel only allowed them to have 5 brought in. And they've been sitting around just doing nothing because the media outrage has been so astronomical about it. But the red heifer people, they fooled everybody, and they successfully performed the ritual about a month ago. Now, in the ritual, you're supposed to have hyssop. I have also hyssop that is from the actual ritual, and also the red heifer ashes. And these get put into a clay jar and then sprinkled on people in a healing ritual. And it removes the impurity of death and allows for people to heal. So since this started, they have been sprinkling on people. There was a man with Alzheimer's who just started remembering everything, sight to the blind. There's some real miracles that have happened in the last month since this thing has gone down. But the ashes, just like I have a little bag, there was 10.5 gallons of ashes. And this is only a dime bag full. And these ashes have been disseminated. They're here to stay. They will never be found. So many people have them. And this little bag can power about 10,000 doses.
Power.
Wow. Let's go to Byron. Byron, everything factual in that report? Anything you don't agree with or want to clarify or expand upon?
There's a few things that are off a little bit, guys. In general, it's okay. I will tell you this. I didn't raise the cows. I've done projects in Israel, and you can read about it in my book. It's called Hunt for the Red Heifer. It's on Amazon. I've been doing projects. I helped open up where the actual stones are at Gilgal that Joshua put on the ground there. I helped with the place, that's the actual place where Solomon and David set up to raise the lambs of God there. I helped with cleaning the Garden of Gethsemane. So I've done a lot of projects that didn't get much media. But because of that, I have a relationship with Jewish rabbis who asked me to represent Israel and the nations to bring to Judah the red heifers. So we found those and were able to then get them to Israel back in September of 23. And we've been keeping them at Shiloh ever since. And we did do a ceremony July 1st that was out in the Samaritan Mountains. And it was a pure ceremony with a pure cow, the first time that's been done in 2,000 years.
Were you there for that?
Yes, sir. I was there with my wife, my family, and there was only about 35 people there. We invited the Temple Mountain Institute to come. Our organization, Bonet, is the one that paid for everything, that does everything, that raises the cows, that owns the cows. We're friends with the Temple Mountain Institute. They're they're actually divided within their organization about, some people think they're pure. Some people think, well, because Christians brought them and stuff, maybe they're not pure. And so they publish what they believe, but even in their organization, they're divided. But bottom line for us, the cows, we still have pure cows, and we used the absolute most pure that we had. Her name was Tikva, and we used her on the ceremony that happened on July the 1st of this year.
Now, you did not raise these. Who raised them then?
So they were raised. There's 2 ranches in Texas where I found pure red cows. The Urbanowski Ranch down by Houston, they raised Santa Gertrudis, and they were pure red. Although we only brought one Santa Gertrudis to Israel, and she's disqualified. She did grow white hair. The way you disqualify is a spot. Now, the way they identify a spot is if you have two hairs of white or black that came from the same follicle, they consider that a spot. You can have an individual white hair, individual black hair, but you can have a spot. And so the Santa Gertrudis had spots. But the red heifers, the red Angus that we found that were in Rockwall, Texas, raised by a rancher named Ty Davenport, he raised his cows from the 1990s because he loves the Bible and he loves the verses of Numbers 19. And so he wanted to raise the reddest of cows, and he did it. And so that was where we were able to find, actually at one time we had 21 perfectly red inspected red heifers, but the laws don't allow livestock for meat production to be sold from the United States to Israel. Trump will probably change that. But at any rate, at the time we shipped the cows, that was not allowed. So we were able to use our minds and our thoughts, and you can bring up to 5 pets, 5 dogs, 5 cows.
Oh, we're showing the video footage. We're showing the video footage of them coming into the airport in crates. And we've also just showed your book for those who want to get that book. We'll promote it again. But yeah, we just saw them being brought in as pets,
Yeah, that's right. We named them and we made them pets, and we could only bring 5, but we could get more. It's not like there's a shortage. This particular ranch in Rockwall, Texas, produces about 100 of these heifers every year, and it's just a matter of knowing that you need them and you're going to ship them to Israel. So at this point, God, through that rancher, has done something amazing, because we searched to do this hunt. We searched ranches and kennels all over the Texas and the United States, and out of all the places we went, many places, we only found one ranch that has them, and that's Ty Davenport's ranch.
Now, let me make sure our audience understands. While you didn't breed them, you've been the one searching for these, right?
That's right. And so I put together a team. About the hunt for the red heifer. You can read that whole story of how we found them and everything there in the book.
Yeah, and I'm showing the cover of your book. I'm showing the cover of your book right now. And by the way, we can talk offline. I don't know what your schedule is like October 3rd or 4th, but we're having our 22nd annual National Worldview Weekend outside of Memphis in Collierville, Tennessee, Germantown area. We would love to cover your flight, hotel, give you an honorarium, have you come speak to our attendees. We can talk to you about that off the air I don't know what your schedule's like.
Yeah.
But maybe check your calendar for that Friday night or Saturday, October 3rd or 4th. But this...
I changed my... Okay, I definitely can say that. I just changed my schedule. I was going to be in Israel, but I just changed my schedule yesterday, so it happens to be open.
So you can make that, huh?
That sounds like fun.
Oh, wow. So, Logan,
sounds like you can.
Yeah, Logan, let's get him up on the website, his picture, his book. We'll start adding him to the speaker schedule. I'm telling you, folks, October 3rd and 4th, it's going to be an amazing time with amazing speakers to see what God's providentially bringing together here, even up to the very last minute. Wow. Get the book, here it is, The Hunt for the Red Heifer, a Texas businessman's journey to find and deliver a perfect red cow to Israel. Absolutely amazing. Byron, so how many years were you looking for the red heifer? How many years did you spend searching the ranches around America and the world?
Yeah, so the hunt started in the spring of 2022. Now, before that, back when I was doing a project back in 2008, we were doing a project cleaning the Garden of Gethsemane, which, by the way, is also called the King's Garden in the Kidron Valley. And we were cleaning that, a $3.5 million project, and there became a piece of land on the Mount of Olives available. So that's the perfect spot for the red heifer ceremony on Mount of Olives. So we have that land also for another ceremony there on the Mount of Olives when it's time to do that.
I want to read what Byron, when did you put out this? It says August 10th is when someone posted it. Is that when you put out your tweet about the burning on July 1st? When did you put that out? August 10th?
I don't. It's. I think it was before that, but I don't remember exactly the date. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, it's going viral today. Let me read his tweet to you guys, and then I'm going to bring in Dr. Rob, Aaron, and Dr. Woods to all ask questions. But here's what Byron tweeted back in August sometime. Byron Stinson, quote, "This is the burning from July 1st. It was not on the Mount of Olives, and some Jewish leaders feel it does not pass all requirements they support, but it was real, and the first in 2,000 years. Some will say all you need is to follow the Torah. We did that. Others have a higher standard under the oral Torah. Many will never agree, but the world is changing fast. I believe this ceremony changed something in the world. So it should be recognized as the first in over 2,000 years. Will there be more? Yes. Will everyone agree that those will be the right one? No. Many will continue to question and fight against the ceremony. I just think the world needs to know. The ceremony went perfect, with a perfect priest and a place outside of the camp. And in the opinion of those I respect, we used a perfect red heifer. This ceremony was done before Hashem. He is merciful and faithful. He knows we are not perfect. Today, if you hear him call out to you, repent and believe in the word of God. His promised Messiah is working in this sin-filled world. He wants to see us try our best to honor him, not fight between ourselves about these things. My heart and soul is innocent, and I have told you the truth as I understand that truth. Shalom to all, end quote. Byron Stinson, our guest right now. Dr. Lindstedt, you want to ask a question? Yeah. We'll let each of the guys here jump into the conversation. You want to start, Dr. Lindstedt?
Glad to. Matter of fact, the last time I saw Byron in person, we were at Gilgal together and then at Bethlehem together. And as long as I've been interested in the red heifer, it seems like Byron's been involved in some capacity. And I actually thought it was on his ranch that they bred those. But here's what I see. I like what he said. Yeah, there's different denominations. Each person, like even in the Temple Institute, several different factions there. But here's what's united: that to bring about sacrifices, they need the cremated ashes of a red heifer that must meet certain qualifications. And so, as best Byron can tell, those have been met. And now, for the first time in 2,000 years, we have those ashes. What's the next step? Well, it'll no doubt be controversial, but almost everything those of us who are on the screen right now do is controversial. But what we try to do is to follow God's word the best we can and do what we can, and then to watch what takes place. Because I believe it's a plan of God that's unfolding to let people know, yes, God has a plan, and we're right in tune with that plan. So it's fun to see Byron on the screen, his face, and I know people are going to really enjoy. He's a great storyteller, and if he can come to that conference in October, people are going to really enjoy.
Well, I hope he brings some books with him, and we'd love to have him talk about some of these other projects. You know about some of the other projects, obviously, Dr. Rob?
Yes, I know of one in Bethlehem. I'm not so familiar with one in Gethsemane, but probably most of the time that I've talked with Byron, it's been about the red heifers and the work there. But the progress he's got going in Gilgal, that's another one. Everyone forgets about Gilgal, but go to the book of Joshua. Gilgal is so important. It was the home base. It was the beachhead for Israel. Every time they did Jericho, they went back to Gilgal. Ai, back to Gilgal. Getting back to Gilgal. I mean, and so he's got some neat things going on in Gilgal.
Dr. Woods, you want to jump in here and ask a question?
Well, I guess I'm looking for timing. I mean, in Byron's best estimate, and maybe he can't answer this. There's a lot of guesstimates about when they're going to start building temple number 3. Do you have any guesstimates as far as that is concerned? And if you don't, what do you see as the biggest obstacle right now to rebuilding temple number 3?
Let me just clarify here, Byron, because your cell was breaking up. Are you saying, did I hear you say there's really not a whole lot of obstacle to the building of a third temple right now, Byron?
No, it's primarily, you have in Israel for years, you've had two different camps. One camp says if we do anything on the Temple Mountain, it's going to cause war, and we want to appease, and we want to do everything possible to try to keep peace. I mean, you go back, you're looking at, this is all the way back to the 6-Day War. Moshe Dayan decided to give the Temple Mountain back give it to the Waqf, to Jordan, to try to make peace. And instead of it making peace, now we've had absolute anarchy because of that. And the same thing with Gaza. Ariel Sharon thought, well, I'll make peace by appeasing, by giving the land of Gaza back. And then that caused hell. It caused war. And the only way forward for Israel is to do what God says. And that he says, don't divide my land and allow my people to pray here in the holy place that I want the nations and people to pray from. But it looks scary in the eyes of humans to make that step, to say, no, we're going to take sovereignty and we're going to honor the Lord here, and we're going to move into that despite the pushback from the world. So politicians get that pushback, and it comes back towards people wanting to do the ceremony. So today it's just a matter of what do Trump and Netanyahu and the others involved, are they ready to move forward and trust the Bible and move forward with this, or are they going to try to appease the enemies again, which will never be appeased?
And don't you find it very ironic that as we're speaking today, Byron, that Putin and President Trump are meeting in Alaska, and the stage has been set. We had a picture of it earlier. I don't know if we can find it again, but we had a picture earlier where the stage is set for them to have a press conference this afternoon. And the big writing on the backdrop was, here I found it, is pursuing peace. That's the big backdrop with both of their podiums ready to go for a press conference this afternoon, pursuing peace. Isn't that kind of interesting that this is happening right now? And also in a week where Tucker Carlson's video is going viral, where he's interviewing a woman that was mocking us Zionists and the idea of the temple and the red heifers. It is almost like God is giving a little encouragement to us and letting it, I think, at least to me, it's very encouraging that the Lord's allowing this to happen right now, because I needed some encouragement. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I feel like this is a real shot in the arm, and the Lord's giving a little grace to not only the believers, but the unbelievers, to say, you better listen up. You better listen up. What say you, Byron?
You know what God did when he first brought the Jews back into the land after being slaves in Egypt? First thing he does is have them build an altar. And at the altar, he says, now you got to make a choice. If you obey my ways and do what I command, then you're going to have peace. You're going to have these wonderful things. You're going to be blessed in the morning, blessed in the evening. But if you don't, then you're going to be cursed. And we're always at this free will ability as humankind to make a choice to follow the ways of the Lord, or to follow after what we feel like is humanly the thing. There's a kingdom of God coming that's not a human kingdom. It's a kingdom that God puts in place, and he ordained it to happen with a Jewish king reigning from a Jewish mountain in Jerusalem, Israel. But the world pushes back against that. And so we're, as believers in the nations, we're supposed to be praying for that kingdom to come and for it to be connected to that kingdom. And that's what this house of prayer is about. It's a connecting point for us all to come to care about each other and to learn from God right there on that place how we can have peace on earth. through this kingdom of God. And the kingdoms of man have not provided it over the thousands of years. The kingdoms of man always result in more and more war and nuclear bombs and fighting and destruction. And so we have to make a choice. It's free will. What will we do? And I think from what I read, especially in Micah 5, that there is in the world, there are billions ready for this peace of God to come together. And it all kind of culminates when we are able to build a house of prayer on the holy mountain of God. And so that's what the red heifers are, the precursor to be able to do that. It's a big thing, and we're right on the edge of it.
And so I'm assuming then, like me and Dr. Lindstedt and Dr. Woods, you believe, and I think Aaron, you believe in a literal 1,000-year millennial kingdom that's coming.
Absolutely. I mean, if you go over into the New Testament, look at what Paul's saying in 1 Corinthians. You go to the 15, down to about verse 19 down in there. You're looking at, Paul's explaining that the good news includes the resurrection of human bodies that now have been changed to where they can exist. They're spiritual and human, and they can exist for 1,000 years on the earth. This is return to the Garden of Eden. Just like the ages went down, the ages are going back up. And if you actually look at it, people already are living longer. Already the curse is being lifted. The curse on man out of the garden was that he was going to make his living just sweating like a dog. And that was true until 140 years ago, and it started being less and less and less true. And today, almost everybody sits in an air-conditioned place with a microphone in front of them. So, it's changed. And women, their curse was they were going to have great pain in childbirth. And look how many deaths there were with childbirth and pain and horrible things back 200 years ago and always before. But now, with modern science, it's not as painful. It's not this is so. We're seeing a change in the world. It's just sometimes hard to see without looking at it. God is coming. The last days are here. Travel is expanding. It's time to make a decision. Do you want to love the God of Abraham that tells the end from the beginning, who says, I'm going to exile you into the nations, my beloved family, the Jewish people, and you're going to be a curse word in the nations, but when I return you back to the land, I'm going to stand over you, and you'll win every war. And then he brings them back, and they win the war in 48, which was not possible. They win the war in 67. They win the Yom Kippur War. They win every war because God is with them through the Iron Dome, through the knowledge they have. And so if you look, you'll see that this miracle is already well on its way, and God has promised he'll complete it. And I believe he will complete it, and the red heifer is one of the big mileposts as we get there. And it happened July 1st, so I wanted people to know this is a milepost that we just passed, and we're getting closer and closer, but it's time to make a decision. Will we stand for the Lord Almighty, the one that it's all about, or will we stand against him? And the political leaders have to decide where they want to stand in the world.
Amen. Byron, do you think that they will go to a temporary tabernacle before they go to a full temple?
Well, that certainly is a possibility, and it could be part of a negotiation. What I see is what's in Revelation is there needs to be sit down, and because the Jewish people they want to be best friends with the Muslims. Now, I'm not talking about being best friends with Hamas. I'm talking about being friends with good, caring, loving Muslims that don't want war. They want their children to be raised in safety. And so we want to sit down with them and have an agreement where we say, let's keep the El Aqsa Mosque. It'll stay in place. The Dome of the Rock, which is not a mosque, is a beautiful structure, but in Jerusalem, if you've been there much, they move buildings all the time, the entire building. They mark every stone. They actually beautify the building as they move it, and they would like to move the Dome of the Rock towards the El Aqsa Mosque to connect it better to the El Aqsa Mosque, and then build a wall of security on the Temple Mountain so nobody's fighting with each other up there, and then be able to build their temple, which they're ready to build at the Dome of the Rock. And that is what they would like, to have the negotiation and do it without taking it. They want the Muslims to pray there. They want the Buddhists to pray there. They want anybody that wants to come and pray. But, of course, all of us that believe in the God of Abraham can also come and pray there. That's only right that we can pray to our God, who is the God that spoke to Abraham and said, go to this land that I show you. It is the promised land. And when it's completely yours, then there's going to be peace on earth. That's why we pray for the peace of Jerusalem, because it affects the entire earth as that comes.
Wow. Just a couple more minutes with you, Byron, and thank you so much for your generosity to join us today. Aaron, you want to jump in here, make any comments or ask any questions?
Well, I'm just amazed at all the information that Byron is giving us, and what an honor it is to hear it. And can I just say, for the record, you know, this topic is a very controversial topic in many circles, especially among the radical Muslims. And so just for the record, can I say that for someone like Byron, who potentially could be starting a third world war, I think he's a hell of a nice guy.
for a guy that could be starting World War III, he's a very nice guy. So, Byron, you know, they say that October 7th, part of it may have been about going after those 5 heifers. Do you believe that? And do you think that what these Israeli Jews have done now is going to bring any more violence? Or do you think now that it's happened, it's like, well, they got their supposed 10 gallons of ashes. What can we do about it now? What are your thoughts on those topics?
So what happened there, what's happened over the last 2 years, and by the way, in my life, I've already had over 50,000 rockets shot at me while I'm in Jerusalem, including all of those rockets out of Iran, Sudan that keep coming in. So I'm very familiar with all of that. But what happened, in my opinion, is Zechariah 12 was played out. Zechariah 12 says there will be an evil plan to surround Israel. And so they will come and they will surround Israel. And the plan is to go all at once, all the nations surrounding Israel, to attack at one time and destroy Israel. And that was exactly Iran's plan. The reason that the plan didn't go off for them as they planned it, and it might have succeeded had they done it, stayed with their plan. But the reason that the plan failed was because Yahya Sinwar wrote on the day after the day he attacked on October the 7th, of 23, he wrote to both Hezbollah and back to the IRGC, back to Iran, that he couldn't wait any longer because the Jews were going to try to do something on the Temple Mountain, and the proof was these cows that had been brought from Texas. He wrote a letter that stated that. So it was the cows themselves that caused him to go prematurely to war. And because he did that, Israel went out and one at a time was able to take out, stop Hamas, stop Hezbollah, take care of Syria, jump over, whoop, and knock out Iran and disable Syria. All their attacks were independent rather than coordinated. And I would say it's because God wanted some cows to come to Israel. It's crazy, but that's what happened. And seriously, read Zechariah 12. I believe we're living that out even as we talk right now.
Absolutely fascinating. Folks, you need to get the book, Hunt for the Red Heifer, A Texas Businessman's Journey to Find and Deliver a Perfect Red Cow to Israel. It's by our guest, Byron Stinson, and you'll find it on Amazon. Dr. Woods, do you find it ironic, as I do, that we now have, as we're on the air with Byron today, with you, with Dr. Lindstedt, who had to depart for going to teach a class, and Aaron from Israel, that we have that Putin and Trump are meeting as we speak. As we pre-tape this for Brandon House Live tonight, we have video footage coming in of Putin and Trump together with pursuing peace as the backdrop on all the banners in at least 2 different rooms that these guys are in. They keep pushing up these banners pursuing peace. Do you find this kind of ironic?
Well, I personally don't, because I'm a student of the same prophetic scriptures everyone else here is a student of. And, you know, what Ezekiel 38 and 39 talks about is Russia coming from the remote north and invading Israel in the last days. And just look at a map right between Russia and Ukraine, right between Russia and Israel, rather, is Ukraine. So when Russia invaded Ukraine, they weren't going the opposite direction of Israel. They were coming towards Israel. So a bellicose, belligerent Russian northern power with sort of a history, recent history of moving from the remote north into the land of Israel, to me, is not surprising. And furthermore, that marquee that was up indicates that they're pursuing peace. Well, that's what 1 Thessalonians 5 and verse 3 says. While they're saying peace, peace, destruction suddenly comes like a woman experiencing labor pains. And beyond that, the Bible is very clear that there's going to be a functioning temple midway through the tribulation period, that the Antichrist will desolate. You can't have a desecration of a temple that doesn't exist. So all this talk about the red heifer, ashes of the red heifer, a pure red heifer, is necessary, Numbers chapter 19, to dedicate temple number 3. So that's how all of this contributes to the prophetic discussion. So you've got Russia, you've got the clamor for peace, you've got the third temple strand, and let me just throw a fourth one in. Here we are all in different parts of the country. In the case of Aaron, a different part of the world, all talking to each other. Technology was mentioned, air conditioning a little earlier. We're all talking to each other via camera. I mean, think of that. And the Bible anticipates 2 witnesses being slain in the city streets of Jerusalem and being, miraculously resuscitated. And the whole world celebrates when they're slain. Well, how can that happen without some sort of satellite technology? So there's 4 things that are happening together in convergence and concert. And so when you look at all of these things coming together simultaneously in light of what the Bible says, it shows us that we're living in a unique time in history. And I like what was said earlier. It's time for people to make a decision.
Amen.
God means what he says and says what he means.
Amen. Amen. Aaron, Byron, have they sent you some of those ashes? Did you get some of those ashes as well?
Yeah, they were all actually mine, and I have the majority of them, but I'm kind of spreading them around to others to make sure people can follow the way to prepare them and sprinkle themselves. My family did it, and we immediately saw some things happen for us that are quite amazing, just for following what the Bible says to do. I don't understand it all. Matter of fact, the Bible says Solomon didn't understand the red heifer. I do, for myself, know that the red heifer represents everything that has to do with Christ. The power of it, everything about it is Christ in it. And so we sprinkled ourselves. My wife has been having some problems with short-term memory, and it's because she has a vagus nerve problem. And it's been quite detrimental to her. And we sprinkled. And actually, she's right here sitting next to me. Tammy, you want to tell them?
It will help me.
Yeah, go ahead.
My memory had gotten so bad that I would be in the middle of a sentence and forget what I was talking about. And that made me not want to speak up and say anything. I felt very embarrassed and scared.
And now that's gone away. That's stopped?
Well, we sprinkled, but it was my husband, it was one of our kids, our grown daughter, and me. And beforehand, we all just what's the right word?
Yeah, we did without even thinking about it. We all went to our own. Yeah, it wasn't planned. We just go ahead.
We went to different rooms in the house, and so the 3 of us were in 3 different rooms, unbeknownst to the others, and we were all crying out to God with tears and telling him that we're sorry, and repenting, and I'm not worthy, and just it was a very touching time with the Lord. And I was laying on our bed, and all of a sudden I feel like my brain bubbling inside my skull.
Like bubbles in her brain.
And I can't explain it except for that. And it has been, my memory has been so much better. It's not 100%, but I'll take anything that God gives me. He gives me a day that I don't stutter or forget what I'm talking about or act like an idiot. That I'll take it.
Wow. And so a couple months ago, you didn't expect to be on a national broadcast talking.
No way in the world. No.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, Byron, as we close here, thank you to both of you. You know, I'll bless those who bless you. I'll curse those who curse you. Genesis 12, verse 3. We've already heard of one Remarkable testimony there. That sounds like a great blessing to your family. Has God been blessing you in your business endeavors and ministry and family as you have been pursuing this over the years? Have you personally seen this scripture come to life for you and your family?
So for us, we've been living for the Lord and for this moment for all of our life, basically. The book goes deeper into it, but I first was called by the Lord when I was 13 years old. I'm 70 this year. So we've known God has given us insight into how He uses us. We've been in Israel, building up sites in Israel since 2007. So everything is in. We've seen God's hand on us, yes, move us, direct us, put us where we're supposed to be. And it's not that we plan anything. We call it all of the breadcrumbs. We just trust the Lord and ask Him to use us. And so we're not surprised about any of this, and we're not looking for any self-glory. We don't even need our name out there. We just want people to understand it's decision time. It's very close. It's decision time. So choose the Lord or choose not the Lord. It's your choice. God is a God that doesn't make people choose Him. He gives them free will. And so I do too. And I'm going to love you regardless, and God is too, but you may not wind up happy with your decision if you don't love the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul. We're going to do it. Yes, our businesses, I got a business that was established in 1986 and it's still doing well. I got another business that's about 18 years old doing well. I've got Covenant Nations Media that is giving information to people around the world. We've got a nonprofit called Father's House Foundation where we take pastors and teachers on educational trips to Israel. We have much, much more coming. Things that are going to amaze the world. Even more amazing than the red heifer is right behind this. It has to do with the birthplace of Jesus, the real one. Sadly, Queen Helena at 325 A.D. didn't go to the right place, but it's okay because it meant the right place, the true place, laid undisturbed, and modern archaeology has led us to the real place where Christ was born, and it's the same place 1,000 years earlier that King David was born there. So the story's coming together for the world to see. There's more coming. There's a time of peace while God's temple is dedicated to God. Yes, the Antichrist will show up, and the world will follow him, and he has then 3.5 years to sow trouble and tribulation on the face of the earth. But we as believers have to be ready before that and know that we have to not take his mark, and that we'll be okay if we're still alive during that time. Then God will take care of his people during the tribulation without having to take that mark. And we have to start getting ready for that. And we have to read and study. And if nothing else, the red heifer is driving people to read their Bibles, and that's good. And many of us disagree on certain topics. That's okay. You know what? It's always been like that, and it always will be like that until the one comes that's going to teach us from the holy mountain of God, who is the Messiah, coming to teach the world. And he's going to teach some things that are Jewish, and he's going to teach some things that are more Christian, and he's going to teach some things we never even heard of. And that's okay. We'll all learn at his feet and love him and love each other.
Wow, can't wait. Do you have a particular website you want to promote in conclusion, Byron?
Absolutely. We have a building fund that nothing comes out of it. No employees, no money comes out. It's called buildthetemple.com.
And at buildthetemple.com, if you want to help build it for $7.77 a month, join us, and that money will go into the building fund. And that's the only thing it'll be spent on is when we actually start building the temple. So if you'd like to be a part of that, go to buildthetemple.com. Also, this is breaking that your audience is going to hear. The Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea wants to give gold.
Did he just break? Wait a minute. Wait, your cell tower broke up for a minute. The president of Papua New Guinea wants to do what?
The Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea has reached out to our organization and asked us to come to Papua New Guinea and discuss getting gold from there to bring to Jerusalem to help build the temple through the buildthetemple.com. So pray with us if that's supposed to happen, that those doors will open and we will see that it actually happens, and the gold will come from different nations, not just Papua New Guinea. That's the far corners of the earth. But I think it'll come from Chile and Argentina and Uganda and all over the world. I think nations will want to participate in seeing this beautiful temple of the Lord built on the holy mountain of God.
Wow. Fascinating. There it is, folks. You can get it on Amazon. Hunt for the Red Heifer, a Texas businessman's journey to find and deliver a perfect red cow to Israel. And Byron, we look forward to working on the details for you to be here with us for our national conference outside of Memphis, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. We'll get in touch with you this weekend and cover your travel, honorarium, hotel. And we'd love to have you speak not only on this, but also a little bit on some of these other things you're working on as well. Byron, thank you. And thank you to your wife as well. And we pray up for a safe trip for you guys back to Texas.
God bless you guys. And hello to the rest of your guests. I'd love to see you guys soon. I'm friends with all of them.
Excellent.
It was a great panel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Byron. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Byron.
Dr. Woods, thank you so much. Aaron, thank you for helping set it up. Fascinating and very timely as this topic is going viral today all over social media. What a great opportunity for us to take what's out there and turn it into a pulpit. Because again, when did you think that the talk of the red heifer would be going viral on the internet, even among many secular broadcasters or unbelieving broadcasters? But it's setting a stage for us to be able to talk about so many important and vital things in this day and time. I hope you're encouraged. I needed that this week, didn't you? It seemed like it was getting a little discouraging, at least it was for me, because so many attacks, so many people coming after us, and now look at what's happening. Fascinating. I hope you appreciate that exclusive interview tonight, and I hope you're registering for our national conference, worldviewstore.com, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th, worldviewstore.com. Get registered, folks. You're going to love it. If you can't be with us, you can live stream it, but there's going to be nothing like being in person. You can live stream it if you're a member of our vault for a 1-year membership at worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. But we really encourage you to be here in person, to visit with these speakers personally as well in the foyer of our theater we've rented. Worldviewstore.com to book your tickets. We'll be right back after this break.
Introducing the Sentry Wellness System, the ultimate under-sink water treatment solution designed with you in mind. Say goodbye to harmful toxins and hello to water enriched with essential nutrients like calcium and magnesium. Enjoy the benefits of increased pH for on-demand alkalinity, all from a zero-waste system that fits seamlessly into your home. Installation is a breeze, taking just 15 minutes, so you can have clean, healthy, great-tasting water straight from your tap. Perfect for apartments, homes, rentals, and even RVs. Elevate your hydration and well-being with the Sentry Wellness System because you deserve the best in every drop.
Sentry H2O. Tap into wellness.
My story started with alcohol, and I had tried going to other treatments, and all I did was think about how I was not going to drink or how I was going to drink one more day and then stop the next day. And Katie had found a treatment. I thought it was kind of hokey.
I could see a couple days into it, it's like the light bulb went on with him.
It's an IV infusion of all natural NAD. It saved my life and my family.
We've been where you sit.
The hardest part of this is making that phone call and just come in and talk to us.
Joining me now is David Tice and Tommy Waller. We have more big news. You know, it started out as kind of a slow news day today. We knew the Putin-Trump thing was going to be there, right? We didn't know it was going to happen. But man, we got all kinds of news breaking everywhere. I thought other than one story, it was going to be a slow news day. Turned out to be the exact opposite. But Tommy Waller and David Tice join us tonight. Guys, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Always glad to be on your program, Brandon.
Great to have you on, both of you. Logan, can you play that video? For some reason, it says I have to be logged in to Instagram to play that video. Did you guys know? I sent this to David today. That's what sparked this whole thing. There's something called Blackout America coming up in September. And apparently the folks that are behind it are saying we're going to not shop for like 2 or 3 days. No shopping, no Walmart, no Target, no nothing. I think they're calling on people in different unions to not show up at work, tradesmen, craftsmen, etc. They're talking about bringing down the whole system. But even some are saying, and I don't know what they mean by this, we want to bring down the whole system, the grid. Now, I don't know if they mean the power grid or they just mean the system. That's another word for the system is grid. I don't know. But I find it very interesting that there's a group of anti-Trump progressives that are uniting for this coming up in September. Now, I want to talk about that, but also talk about the fact that for just a few $1 billion, we could really harden the grid. And President Trump is raking in billions of dollars from tariffs. So we need the American people to say, look, Mr. Trump, don't worry about sending us a check. Put it into the grid, because who cares if you have another few dollars from the government to buy something if the stores are all closed and your life is ending because the grid is down. So keep the money and promise us you'll put it toward this grid project that David Tice and Tommy Waller are going to talk to us about. Let's go first to this video that's going out there and viral today as well. Watch this.
I'm tired of being right. You guys, I am tired about being right about this Mountain Dew conspiracy because we're about to have a blackout. Remember I told you guys to watch out for that flavor Baja Midnight? Well, guess what? Taco Bell is set to launch a permanent new flavor, Baja Midnight. Now, isn't it weird that Rosie O'Donnell puts out this cryptic message just last week?
Black out the system. Black out the system.
And of course, she's being all dramatic with a black hoodie, but she's clearly alluding to something like this. Blackoutthesystem.com just popped up and their slogan says, we're not asking, we're shutting it down. You guys, this is a call to action for a mass blackout to happen all over the United States happening on September 16th through the 20th. And this is what they want you to do. No work, no spending, no travel, no projects, no events, no restaurants, no backing out. Yeah, this sounds really safe for our economy.
First of all, we're blacking out the system September the 17th. I'm talking about shutting down the whole grid, the economy, everything. No spending, no working, all of it. And we have created a Discord to ensure that
shutting down the grid. You guys, never in a million years I would expect it that a blackout would be self-inflicted by its own citizens. Do they not know what kind of chaos ensues from this? I mean, have we not all seen The Purge? I mean, what if even cops participate in this? So we just have a lawless land across 50 states. Got it. Not only that, 28 countries around the world are supporting this. Of course they would, because some of those people could be our enemies and they want a shutdown to happen. So I guess it's just a coincidence. While all this is going on, Mountain Dew releases Baja Midnight as a permanent new flavor, a new flavor that they've had in 20 years. I'm 30-0 at this point. Make sure you guys get...
All right, so blackout. David, what do you make of this, David Tice?
Yeah, so I think, frankly, this is a little bit of craziness and truly conspiracy theory that I don't really even go to. But frankly, I'm glad it's getting a little bit of publicity so that we can talk about your second issue you want to talk about today, because that is so much more crucially important. Frankly, I don't think some fringe groups are going to be able to shut down the whole grid, but it's getting a lot of attention. But I'm going to let Tommy weigh in.
So in other words, let's take this, Tommy, and let's jump on it to say, all right, these guys are all a bunch of progressive, Marxist, cultural Marxists, whatever they are, anarchists, whatever they are. And they can try to bring down the system, or if they want to call it the grid, whatever they're talking about. But let's talk about the real grid, our power grid. By the way, they do have, they do have, let me show it on the screen here. They do have a whole website, Black Out the System. We're not asking, we're shutting it down. And you guys can go and see how this is nothing more than, again, a massive progressive thing to destroy businesses. I mean, it's got all the marks of Marxism from what I can see. But we can use this to talk about the big issue of a real attack on our power grid, right, Tommy?
We certainly can. And Brandon, let me just emphasize something. The video you saw and the date, the specific date that they chose for this, that 17th September date, that's the Constitution Day. That's the day that we're supposed to set aside to think about, this is a copy of the U.S. Constitution given to me by the parents of an only child who died of wounds sustained in combat under my command. They said, never forget what he died for, right? So what they're doing is they're choosing a day. They're choosing a day to, quote, shut the system down. The system that they are targeting is the system our founders gave us. So let's just be clear about that. And the reality is that if they were to actually want to bring the United States down in terms of physically bring the quote system down, any one of our adversaries or Mother Nature can do that by attacking the grid. So I'm so grateful that you've consistently been having David Tice on to talk about that. You've had others, Dr. Peter Pry, who I dearly miss. And so, I agree. Let's shift the conversation to what these people should be out in the streets clamoring for, which is to protect the infrastructure that we all depend on for life.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Tommy. Look, we can argue about reparations, and we can argue about this, and we can argue about that, and we can do that all day long in a free society. But there is maybe something a lot of us can agree on, regardless of your politics. We don't want to live in the dark. We want to keep the supply chain going. We want to keep eating. We want to keep farmers harvesting crops. We want air conditioning in the summer. We want heat in the winter. We want our lights on, right? And yet, that's what's at risk here, right, Tommy?
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for David taking the time and the extraordinary cost to create a film, Grid Down, Power Up, to teach the American people about the vulnerabilities of the grid and just how dependent we are on it. And look, we can deter, hopefully, prayerfully, we can work as hard as possible to deter our nation's enemies from conducting attacks on the grid. And depending on how much time we have, we can talk about all the different vulnerabilities. But there's one thing we can't deter, Brandon, that's the sun. The sun at some point is going to produce a coronal mass ejection that could take our grid down and possibly for many years. And that's going to happen. We just don't know when. And that's the bad news. The good news is that it's actually a fixable problem. So depending on how much time we have, I'm sure between David and I, we could talk through how it's vulnerable and what can be done to fix it.
Well, let's talk about how vulnerable it is. We have no telling how many terror cells here in the U.S. I know the Trump administration is trying to get a lot of these bad guys out. We know we have the CCP people here. They're buying up our farmland everywhere. The FBI under Kash Patel, they're finding explosives. They just found some kind of what looked like almost a suicide bomb. It could be a suicide vest about 3-4 weeks ago. We've shown it on camera that they put out, and Kash Patel's talked about. We saw some guy in New York pulled over with a bunch of LP tanks and gasoline. If you guys have seen that footage, I mean, any of this could be used to damage these power substations. And if you just hit a few, 7 or 8 of the right power substations, you can bring down any one of the 3 grids, if not all of them, right? Right, David?
That's exactly right. In fact, there was a FERC study, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, that found after the 2013 blackout in Silicon Valley, that as few as 9 critical substations being taken out could cause the grid to go down on a nationwide basis.
And these power substations are completely unprotected. We have one in our town, and one of the city council members said to me last year, Brandon, you do realize that one power substation you go by, he named what was near it. And I said, I know what you're talking about. He said, if anyone were to attack that or damage that, that would bring down the power in the entire city of our town. So again, this is, and these are unprotected, Tommy. They're just sitting there completely unprotected. There'd be nothing. I mean, we know that what was in April of 2013, some kind of special forces group, according to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, who brought in the Navy SEALs from over in San Diego to study, said that that was some kind of military operation to shoot out the coolant system and cause that substation to go down. And they knew where to shoot. I guess they had pre-positioned a rock pile so they know where to stand at night. They cut the 911 line, and they were in and out of there, avoided being on camera, and they were in and out of there and brought that substation down in like 19 minutes. I mean, if that's a military group, they said did that. So if they hit 7 or 8 of these in major cities, like David just said, it could bring down the whole grid.
Right. Yeah, that's the bad news. The good news is that you can actually protect transformers, with ballistic protection. The unfortunate thing is there's just no requirements to do it. Our nonprofit Center for Security Policy has petitioned FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, for years to enhance the physical security standards of the grid, and every one of our petitions has been denied. So this is going to have to be something. Of course, we're doing everything we can. I will tell you that the Trump administration does take this much more seriously than its predecessor. In the Biden administration, I personally briefed Secretary Granholm multiple times on a number of different threats. And while she was very pleasant and polite, we saw very little action. But the Trump administration is serious about this, but it's going to have to take bottom-up action as well from this local and state level. So it's good that your city councilman identified what he did for you. The next step is that he needs to be talking to the local law enforcement about increasing their patrols around there, and to the utility about putting in ballistic protection for those transformer substations, right? And then to the people about paying for it. So this is something that we all depend on, right? We pay our power bills. If we have to pay a little bit more on our power bills to make sure they can protect their infrastructure, then that's what needs to be done. And so we need both top-down and bottom-up action.
So President Trump is bringing in billions, we're hearing, from the tariffs. How many billions will we need to harden the grid, protect it from EMP and physical attack, David?
Well, I want to turn this over to Tommy. Tommy just wrote a great article about this, and I posted it on my LinkedIn. But we're talking $4 billion. So take it away, Tom.
Wow.
Sure. Yeah. And look, I mean, you've got to look at, if you're looking at the entire grid system, you got to look at chunks, right? And so when we talk about a $4 billion price tag, that's for one really, really critical chunk. And that would be to protect against what's known as ground-induced currents, geomagnetically induced currents that would come from solar weather. Remember, Brendan, we just talked about a threat that we cannot deter. It is 100% certain that the North American grid will go down. And it may go down for years.
Did you just say it is 100%?
It's 100% certain. I can tell you with 100% certainty. I cannot tell you when, because I don't know when the sun is going to produce a coronal mass ejection, a solar storm of the right size. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that it will go down, because the standard established by the industry, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, NERC, and approved by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, that standard is transparently and dangerously defective. The standard requires no hardware mitigation whatsoever. And so what that means is that across the entire grid that's vulnerable to these ground-induced currents that come from solar weather, that also come from electromagnetic pulse, high-altitude nuclear EMP, the E3 component, the late-term part of that pulse. Brent, if you have a minute, I'll explain what happens, right? When the sun sends off a huge solar storm or a coronal mass ejection, it travels through space and it strikes the Earth's magnetosphere, very similar to when a nuclear weapon detonates in the exoatmosphere. The Earth's magnetosphere literally heaves and moves and wobbles. And what that does is anytime you have a magnetosphere and you have movement, it creates electromagnetic energy, right? So the crust of the Earth has this current that moves through it. And what does electricity always want to do? It always wants the path of least resistance, right? And so the path of least resistance ends up being the high voltage transformers, right? These large, long transmission lines it can sense that, and these currents travel right up through the neutral ground wire in a transformer, and it can absolutely catastrophically ruin that transformer. And there's a simple solution. You just block the current, right? 3 locations in our country, we have neutral blocking devices blocking those currents. We need about 6,000, and that's the $4 billion price tag. And that's what I briefed Secretary Granholm multiple times on. She refused to take any action. That's probably the single fastest and most important thing that we can do right now as a nation, is to take that threat off the table. It's a fixable problem, it's affordable, and we can do it. And that's what we're promoting right now, both top down and bottom up, with our Secure the Grid Coalition, our Center for Security Policy, and thank God with the help of David Tice and Dennis Quaid and these patriots that have helped wake up the American people.
Absolutely. So what can people do? How can people get involved to get this on the radar, more aggressively, to say to President Trump, take that money, take those billions of dollars coming in from tariffs and put, $4 billion of it toward this?
Look, I'd like to have David talk about that, the wonderful website that he built.
So it's griddownpowerup.com. You can see a link to watch the movie. Either you can watch it free on Newsmax or at salemnow.com. You have to pay $10. But we have a tab on our website. It's the top right corner, the participate tab. And if you put in your home address, even a zip code, you can send pre-written emails and make phone calls to your regulators, your legislators, both state and federal, and your members of board of directors of your local public utilities.
Excellent. Grid down, power up, grid down, power up. We also have a little trailer. Was that you? You're the one that sent me this little trailer, right, David?
Yes. So what I say, this is actually not a grid down, power up trailer, but this is a new informative piece talking about what an EMP really does. It's worth watching.
Here, just watch a little bit of this, guys.
1 second after an EMP goes off, it's called an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, and it doesn't destroy buildings. It destroys systems. Inside every device you own, your phone, your car, your fridge, are tiny circuits. When an EMP hits, it sends millions of volts surging through them. Wires melt, chips burn, nothing works. Not because it broke, but because it overloaded. Your lights go out, your phone dies, your car doesn't turn on. Even planes lose their eyes in the sky. This isn't just a blackout. This is a full reset. No gas stations, no water treatment, no hospitals, no satellites, no communication. 4 hours in, your fridge is warming up. 2 days in, food starts to rot. By day 5, there's no clean water and no help coming. And here's the thing, we already have EMP weapons. Just one, detonated high in the atmosphere, can knock out power across an entire continent. Not a sci-fi movie, a real threat. We built our world on electricity, but we never stopped to ask, what happens if it all turns off?
Wow. Well, it's a real threat. Now, you guys have, your plan also includes hardening for EMP, right, Tommy?
Right. So one thing to be clear on that, Brandon, is that electromagnetic pulse, it produces 3 types of pulse: E1, E2, and E3. What I just briefed you on was the E3 component. That's how it affects the earth and conductivity, that ground-induced current. So when we talk about a $4 billion price tag for the whole grid, we're talking about just one portion of the EMP threat, but a very, very important portion, because it also would protect us against solar weather. Okay. And so that's where you can take this one threat we can't deter, and you can take that completely off the table. The United States doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And that's what we recommend as the first step. Now, in terms of the other parts of the pulse, the E1 and E2, E2 is a lot like natural lightning. And we have a lot of natural lightning protection on our critical infrastructure, so we're not as worried about that. Now, the E1 part of that pulse, that can ruin small electronics, that can fry computers. However, it's not nearly as widespread in terms of the impact, right? So that would be the next step. As we get the E3 protection, we take that ground-induced current part off the table. We protect ourselves against solar weather. And then we start to identify the most critical assets of the grid that need to be protected against the rest of that electromagnetic pulse. That cost is going to be a lot more than just $4 billion, but we got to start somewhere.
Yeah, indeed we do. All right, I want to highlight your website. We already talked about Grid Down, Power Up, but let's take a look at this one. Do I have that right? Grid Down, Power Up, is that right?
So Grid Down Power Up is David Tice's phenomenal website for the film. That's
okay.
right.
And then this is yours.
Participate tab. Yeah. And so our Center for Security Policy, our nonprofit organization, I mean, you see our mission, we provide uncompromised analysis and unconventional solutions to keep Americans safer. When I talk about uncompromised analysis, what I mean by that is we don't take any funding from the government, from any foreign sources, or any company that could profit off of our recommendations. So when we talk about all this EMP protection, we're not funded by those companies. In fact, we refuse funding from them. And that makes us the proper messenger for the public interest, at least from the policy side, right? And again, thank God we have David Tice as a patriot, Dennis Quaid as a messenger for the movement of securing our electric grid.
Absolutely.
And I cannot say enough nice things about Center for Security Policy, about what a phenomenal organization, patriotic organization they are in trying to keep our nation safe.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys. I hope people will go to centerforsecuritypolicy.org and griddownpowerup.com. Thank you guys. Great interview tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Always great to be with you.
Thank you guys. We'll be right back after this break.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed. Joining me now is Dr. Moon and Dr. Schneider. Guys, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having
me here.
We're going to have regular medical updates with you guys. What's on today's agenda?
Oh, always so much to talk about. Thank you so much for having us on. We're both practicing pediatricians and really just want to keep our audience informed about what our concerns are out in the medical world. This week, I have a really tragic, I think, example to share. Maybe not tragic, but just unbelievable example to share. So we had a colleague of mine went to take her young child to have a sports physical. Her daughter is in her teenage years. And the nurse practitioner who came into the pediatric office to see this child was wearing literally almost an entire hazmat suit like we saw during COVID. The full shield, the face mask, the gloves, the everything, to see a healthy teenager for a sports physical. Yeah. To my pediatrician colleagues out there, to our pediatrician colleagues out there, this has got to stop. This has turned into some sort of a absolutely unbelievable germ phobia. Parents are scared. Parents don't know what to do when they encounter situations like this. Many of them just laugh, but these are the people taking care of your children. So Dr. Schreiner actually today is going to talk a little bit more about what your options are for choices in pediatric offices. I think it's high time that our audience and our public, you understand how you don't like what's happening. You can change this. And Dr. Schreiner, I'm going to pass this over to you to give some more information about DPC practices.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Moon. Rennie and I were talking before, and she raised the question, how do we wake our colleagues up? And I think we've both come to a conclusion that I don't know that we can. It's going to take the public voting with their feet in order to do that. So I wanted to talk a little bit, explain, a lot of people may not be familiar with what a DPC practice is, which DPC is short for direct primary care. So the primary focus of that is to get the insurance company out of the way, because in a traditional practice, insurance companies dictate so much. They will determine what standards that you use, and if you don't meet those standards, then you will suffer in terms of financial reimbursement. They'll say, if you don't meet 95% or whatever percent they determine of your patients fully vaccinated, then we're not going to reimburse you so much. And then on top of that, if you're working in a corporate practice, they're going to dictate what you do and how many patients you see. I remember having a nurse practitioner student that we had. I may have mentioned this last time around, I don't remember, but she was following around a pediatrician in the corporate practice that she was joining. And that pediatrician was seeing 20 to 25 patients a day. And while she was taking a history from a mom, she was typing out an answer to an online question that another parent had sent in. I don't know how you can take a history from one person while you're answering another person. That just doesn't compute with me. So in direct primary care, we don't take insurance because we don't want that. And plus that increases your overhead. When I had a private practice 20, 30 years ago, we had one person, and it was only two of us in the practice as far as physicians. One person's full-time job was to file the insurance and file the claims and then the appeals to the claims when they denied it. And so that was a whole person's salary just to do that. So in direct primary care, at least the model that I'm in, we have a subscription basis, which is how most of them operate. And so you pay a monthly fee per child, and that gives you 24/7 access. So as I explained to parents, because we interview before to make sure that what they're looking for and what I provide is a good match, is that you have 24/7 access to me. So you can text me, you can call me, and a lot of stuff we can take care of over the phone. In a traditional practice, as a physician or provider, you don't get paid unless the patient comes in. And so you're trying to generate as many visits as you can. And if you're corporate, they're going to try and get you to squeeze as many patients into the available time as possible. And I remember talking to one parent, I can tell she was calculating in her head that, okay, I'm paid this much a month, but my kids only get seen this much. So that doesn't make financial sense to me. But you have to understand that what you're paying for is you're paying for access that I'm going to be available when you need me, because a traditional practice has anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 children per provider. And so when kids need to be seen, which is typically in the winter months, all these people are trying to get in at the same time. Well, direct primary care, you have a fraction of that. It varies. I'm trying to do it more on a part-time basis. So I'm at about 120. My goal is to get to 200 patients. I see patients routinely 2 days a week as far as physicals, well checks. But if a child needs to be seen, I'll make arrangements and we'll see them whenever they need to be arranged.
And you're seeing them over. You're seeing them over the internet, though, right?
Both. So just before, while I was waiting to come on, I had a mom text me. Her child had a diaper rash or something in the diaper area, and she wanted to set up an appointment. But I'm on vacation next week, so she said, "Well, send me a picture." And I'll look, and if it's something I can look at and tell, then we'll do it over the phone. And it was. And so a lot of times that's what happens is they'll talk to me, they'll send me a picture, I'll tell them what to do. But I do see them in the office so as well. But I'm not compelled to make them come in, and they're not compelled to come in.
So if you have someone who's saying, well, look, I don't live in Tennessee where you're at, Dr. Schneider, but I would like to say I live in Florida, I live in Louisiana, and I'd like to have a pediatrician that will see my child and tell me what to do, who isn't requiring all these shots. Because that's what a lot of parents are running into is they don't want to give all these kids these vaccines, and the pediatricians are saying, well, if not, then get out. We won't see you. So you say, well, I'd like to have you as my child's pediatrician. They're not going to be able to see you in person. What percentage requires you actually seeing them in person versus seeing them over the internet?
So you have to be licensed in whatever state the patient lives. So I'm licensed in Tennessee, so I only see Tennessee patients. And I don't really do telehealth in that sense. So the patients that I have are in my locality. So that's how that works.
Yeah, the point here is the one that's a bigger point, right? Which is that we really have lost our physicians sold their souls by becoming employees of these large corporations. Dr. Schreiner and I watched this happen during the course of our career. We became employees, and the number of people that have access to your chart and that really help dictate your healthcare is almost unimaginable. There's so many more people involved in that office visit that you have with your physician if they're employed by a large corporate entity. So this DPC model really gets rid of all that. It's
okay, so that's why we're having this conversation then is to encourage people to find a pediatrician in their state that is licensed for them and that they can practice this same model. Are you guys setting up like a website where people can go and say, I'm in Florida here, or here I'm in Tennessee? Are you guys encouraging pediatricians to come join such an association where people can log in and find you per their state?
To be clear, I don't have a DPC practice. I'm just here to support the parents out there, the many parents out there that are looking for alternate models, right, for other practices. And Dr. Schreiner happens to have a great example of his own DPC practice. But I believe there is a DPC network, is there not, Tom?
There is. There's also, Dr. Greenmom also keeps a list of vaccine neutral physicians.
Who's that?
So if
Dr.
you want to find
Greenmom?
somebody, it's called Dr. Greenmom.
Is that like
So that's a website
drgreenmom.com?
I believe it is that.
Yeah, popped right
So
up.
they do a lot of natural type things, but part of what they do is have a list of physicians who have said, I am neutral as far as vaccines. I'm not going to make you feel terrible if you choose to give them or not give them. And so you can find a list of pediatricians, family physicians on there, which I have a lot of patients that come through that website to me.
Isn't that something?
We've all seen the patients who, come in crying because they have literally been kicked out of their traditional pediatric practice or corporate run pediatric practice because they have declined, like, for example, the hepatitis B shot for their 1-month-old. Your 1-month-old only gets hepatitis B from mom. Mom doesn't have it. They're not using drugs. They're not having, they're not engaged in sexual activity at 1 week or 1 month of age. Those parents have made a reasonable choice, and yet they've been kicked out of the entire healthcare system. The ethics of this is just unimaginable. So just there are options for you out there as parents. It is going to take really parents standing up for the health of their children and just saying, look, we want to fully understand the risks and benefits of anything that is being proposed for our child, and we want to make those decisions. We want to make sound decisions for our own families, and that's really what this is about. If people listening today, if they're pediatricians listening or people listening that want to reach us, you can email us at pediatriciansspeakout@gmail.com. We have an email, pediatriciansspeakout@gmail.com.
Pediatriciansspeakout@gmail.com. Again, pediatriciansspeakout@gmail.com. Okay, there's safety in numbers, and more pediatricians need to band together. And I would have to imagine, Dr. Schreiner, that it's funner to be your own boss than working for some gigantic corporation, right? I mean, you're probably enjoying why you went to medical school now.
I am. I practice in a lot of different settings, and this is my favorite way to do it. I mean, I even do home visits. So for newborns, for their first visit, I go home. I go to their house and see them. Last week, while I was doing one home visit on a newborn, one of my other patients contacted me, and 3 of her kids had a rash. And I could have made them come into the office, which I wasn't seeing patients in the office that day, but it was just easier for me to stop by her house and see all her kids. Wow. I told her as I was leaving, I said, I feel like I should have a horse and buggy to do it.
Well,
this way.
I was thinking also about the Brady Bunch, because when I was growing up and watching the Brady Bunch, which was filmed back in the 60s, the doctor would come to the house and see the kids when they had the mumps or whatever. I remember watching that as a kid thinking, that's pretty cool. The doctor comes right to their house, because I was being dragged to a pediatrician's office that was kind of scary. And a lot of people around you that are sick, and you had to sit and wait forever. And I was, so as a kid going to a pediatrician's office, I was thinking, I prefer the Brady Bunch way they did it in the 60s, where the doctor showed up at your house. And now here we are, 2025, and that's what Dr. Schreiner's doing.
And it's happening again. Yeah, I mean, I can't do it for all of them, but I'd like doing it because it's a much more relaxed setting. They're in their home setting. And especially for newborns, I get to see, okay, this is the environment that this child is in. This is who's taking care of them. This is where they're sleeping. I get to see all of that.
Amazing.
And especially, I want to actually share really quickly that about 20 years ago, it was about 2003, I was working for a large corporate hospital clinic entity. And do you know what? They actually had a educational seminar for physicians, for all of us, titled How to Be a Good Follower. How to be a good follower. Not kidding. I am not kidding. This whole topic was brought up, and they had different personality types up on the board, the physician that was giving this lecture, with tips on how you could change your personality if you had one that didn't like to follow. And at one point they said, well, if you don't like any of this, you can always leave. Woo. And I thought I misunderstood. So I remember I raised my hand and I said, did you say lead? Because I thought, if you can't be a good follower, obviously you should be a good leader. I would think all physicians should be leaders, right? No, the lady was like, no, we really mean leave, like be a good follower or leave. That is the healthcare system that was being primed for what the catastrophic mess that we're witnessing now.
Yeah.
Where your physician is just a cog, just a wheel, part of this whole system.
Part of the bureaucracy, part of the government, which I remember amicus brief before the Supreme Court in 1994 that I document in my book, Grave Influence. And one expert from the Holocaust talked about how when the medical establishment was merged with the fascist big government, big business model of Nazi Germany, that's how you end up with a Holocaust.
Yeah, people standing around and not doing the right thing when they should be saying something. And so please, if you're a pediatrician listening to this, or any physician, really wake up to what's happening. We've absolutely been silenced. Our voices are silenced. Your patients' voices have been silenced. Our ethics have gone out the window. This has to change, and this changes with all of us.
It does. Dr. Schreiner, do you have a website you want to promote or anything?
Practice website is blackbagdoc.com. Blackbagdoc, all one word, .com.
Excellent. And what about you, Dr. Moon?
You know, if you want more information about how this pediatrician was silenced from speaking at a U.S. Senate hearing on her own personal time off, look at silentmajorityfoundation.org, silentmajorityfoundation.org. Go to the Freedom of Speech tab, and I think 2 people down, I have a case against the medical school that came after me for the act of speaking at a Senate hearing.
Good for you.
This is how bad this has become.
Yeah, good for you. And if you guys want to hear Dr. Moon and Dr. Thorpe, they have a show each week on WorldviewTube called Two Docs. And you can just simply go to worldviewtube.com/2docs, TWODOCS, worldviewtube.com/2docs. And as you can see from the website here, you can scroll through and listen to these broadcasts of theirs. And it is where it airs on Saturday and Sundays, right, Logan? You know what time? Saturday at 4 Central and Sunday at 11 a.m. 2 docs. Guys, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much. Dr. Moon and Dr. Schreiner. All right, guys, what a broadcast tonight. Before we go, please consider going right now, worldviewfoundation.com. I know I say it over and over, but we have a lot of new people tuning in all the time. And maybe they're wondering, how do they afford to produce such quality, professional programming 24/7? Well, we're listener supported. One of the greatest ways that you can support us is through our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. If you make a contribution, we'll send you a receipt for your taxes the first week of February. So yeah, it's tax deductible. We bring you a church service each and every Sunday night. The foundation is our church. So if you appreciate all the ministry that our foundation's involved in pushing out free programming, we need your support. Giving usually drops during the summer, folks. And yet our bills, we get a lot of bills that come in the month of August. So right now we need to raise pretty quick about $20,000, $25,000 the next few weeks because we have a lot of bills that have just come due and more coming. Would you please go right now to worldviewfoundation.com and make a contribution? Thank you for that. If you prefer to make a contribution through the mail, you'll find our mailing address right there on the website, worldviewfoundation.com. You can also use our phone number. Just call and leave a voicemail for Melissa or text her. Leave her your number. She'll get back with you, help you make that contribution over the phone, okay? We are doing great ministry and educational and worldview programming that you really can't find anywhere else. Tonight's broadcast was a perfect example with Byron and the other guest. And if you are encouraged by it and edified by it, and you want it to continue, we sure could use your support. Worldviewfoundation.com. Please go there now, will you? Some of you could do $500, $1,000. Remember, we just had the IRS take over $49,000 that they did not deserve to have. They even told us twice in 2 different letters, oh, no, don't worry about that. Why? Because we dared to write a check for our payroll taxes when their system was down for 2 days in 2021. So we overnighted them a check. They penalized us over $49,000, despite the fact they sent us 2 letters saying, don't worry about it. Then they changed their mind, came back 2 years later and said, oh, no, you owe the money, the original plus penalties and interest, $49,000. That's over a month worth of cost. They stole over a month worth of programming budget. We got to make up some serious ground here, folks, before the end of the year. Some of you can do $500, $1,000, $2,000. Will you do that tonight before you get busy with your weekend, please? Whatever you can do. Worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you. All right, roll the music. Let's call it a night. Again, don't forget to register for the big conference coming up Friday night, October 3rd, our 22nd annual Worldview Weekend. Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. And if you can be with us, if you have a year membership of the Vault, you can live stream it. Worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Hope you'll be here for Sunday night as we continue teaching through the book of Revelation. May God save America. Take care.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
Work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon House.
All right, we got big news here. Logan, we should get Aaron, I guess, real quick. I just texted with Aaron. He'll join us. We got big news here, folks. We're going to be joined by Aaron, Dr. Rob Lindstedt, and Dr. Andy Woods.